There is a leap of faith when it comes to this Lions team. And that is whether or not Matt Patricia, like as much as people talk about the lack of additions in terms of defensive personnel, what a huge test for the head coach right out of the gate. Because he was a defensive coordinator on a team that perennially competed for the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And if he looks at this defense and says, basically, oh, I got this, and doesn't make any huge splashes, some perhaps undervalued, underrated signings, and guys like Kennard or Christian Jones. But if Patricia is going to be good, I almost get the sense we're kind of gonna know it from day one.
I don't know. I don't know that we'll know it from day one. I think we'll know it in the first 3 or 4 weeks because you're going to be well into it. You'll have seen enough football, and you'll get an idea of. I think a lot of people are giving him and Bob Quinn the free pass because they think that this is going to be the next New England. Mm-hmm. Coming from their experience at New England, and rightfully so, they've earned that recognition. But I'm cautious to. A lot of times you run into coaches who think I can make a player this. I can make them from what they were last year to something that is completely different, and that's my big concern. My hope is that these guys are all role players, and if you get guys to buy into what they're supposed to do and they do their job extremely well, then yeah, you've got a good defense.
People would say that's kind of the New England way. They let some big price players go, but then again, they didn't thrive defensively. Like they didn't allow a ton of points, but they allowed a ton of yards, and they didn't get to the Super Bowls because of their defense. They got there because of Tom Brady.
Right. So. And they were able to score a lot of points. And our offense, I think our offense is going to be able to score a lot of points. So maybe that formula works here too.
248-539-9797. Okay, I want to bring this up just because it's something that I feel like it was always a box that I think Detroiters thought would get checked. Player announced his retirement for the NHL yesterday, and that player was Jarome Iginla. Jarome Iginla was that big power forward, going to the corners, great hockey player who also happened to be black, and it always felt like he would end up in Detroit. And whenever he became available, Red Wing fans wanted him. And he might be the number one player on the list of a player that Detroiters wanted on their team that was available at times, fit in. It was just a good fit. I always thought Iginla would end up with Detroit at some point, and he ended up playing for 5 teams, made a name for himself as a Calgary Flame. But do you know what I mean? Like a guy that just seemed like he would be in Detroit.
Just a great fit.
Yeah, at some point in his career. From a intangible standpoint, I think bringing an African-American hockey player, although he's Canadian. Is it African-Canadian? I don't want to get it right. But bringing an African-American player to Detroit is something that, with this community, I think would really be embraced. And his style of play just seemed to be so Red Wing-esque. I mean, whenever he became available, Kang, you sat back there and saw the texts. He would always get talked about.
It's not even whenever he became available. People will always be like, they should go get him, right? Like Jarome Iginla would be perfect for the Red Wings. We need a power forward. We need a big guy on on that line. Jarome Iginla always came up on our texts. I mean, that's why I asked yesterday when I saw that he's going to announce his retirement Monday. I'm like, was this the ultimate Detroit guy that never made it here?
Yeah, I kind of feel like he was. We could sit here and talk about who's more Detroit that never got here. And I don't know that anybody is. If you talk about the kind of player, the hockey player that Detroiters always said they wanted, it doesn't matter. Like, just the style. It's Iginla. Like, people wanted a guy like Iginla to be in Detroit. And then I know there were trade rumors. There was, free agency rumors, and it never happened. But we're just throwing it out there. Is there anybody else in that category that you always thought would be a Detroiter and and play for Detroit? One of the first that popped into my head was you. And it's because on draft day, people thought you were going to get drafted by the Lions.
I thought I was too. I had gone to the Silverdome. I met with Bobby Ross, met with the staff. I was a Michigan guy, had some success here, grew up, 15 minutes from the Silverdome. And when the draft was taking place, I thought I was almost positive, whether it was in the first or the second round, it didn't matter to me, but I just thought that I was going to be a Detroit Lion. And they ended up taking, I forget the linebacker. He was from Alabama.
No, it was Chris Claiborne, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yep.
Yes, it was. And then and Erin Gibson from Wisconsin.
This is the one that I don't know if Gator's told the story, but Gator was basically with somebody in the media, and when they took Erin Gibson instead of you, he dropped an F-bomb because he was convinced that A, you were going to play in the league for a long time, and B, you were going to be taken by the Lions in the second round. Mm-hmm. But you went to Washington.
I went to Washington. I went 37, and I don't think the Lions had another pick. They only picked those two in the first round. They didn't have another pick until after me.
So they didn't take you with the first round.
No, but it was, things go the way they go, and I ended up getting a chance to play there at the end of my career, which was awesome. Mm-hmm. And I've got a name, and this guy had a great career in Detroit as a player, and has not had a chance to come back. And there's been a couple opportunities, and I'm wondering if this is a guy that we're going to be talking about for the next 10 or 15 years of wanting to be back in Detroit. We as fans all think it would be a great fit, but just doesn't get that opportunity in Chauncey Billups.
Interesting.
And,
Chauncey Billups, the executive.
Yes.
Not Chauncey Billups, the player. You feel like
I feel like
Destiny will bring him back here.
I think Destiny should bring him back here.
Yeah.
And I think it could have been this year. And it obviously didn't work out. Chauncey talked a little bit about it a couple weeks ago when he was here for the 3-on-3 tournament. But I just think that's one of those Detroit guys that should be here.
Yep. 248-539-9797. Now that you mentioned that, my guess is same vein.
Yeah.
Yzerman, GM of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Yzerman.
He should be. He should be here.
But 248-539-9797. It's kind of off the subject, but kind of not, because their executives feel like they should be here, not the player. But who is in that same category with Iginla that you always felt like, or still feel like to this day, should play in Detroit? Now, let me eliminate something right out of the gate before anybody calls him LeBron. I mean, I get that there are going to be great players that we're never going to have. I'll give you one that I think would have been perfect, because I think he played the position in such a way Detroiters would have embraced. And I hate to say it. I hate to say this, but I think it's true. I think he would have been the ultimate Detroit athlete. Brett Favre. A quarterback who would put his head down and try and run you over. Gunslinger type. Because he played for a rival and was never really available, but I always felt like he played with a little bit of Spielman attitude from the quarterback spot.
Yeah. And there's a guy that ended up where he belonged. Spielman.
What do you mean? Just in terms of...
In being in Detroit.
Yes. Right.
That's the attitude. That's if you're talking about guys that belong here, that's the attitude and the temperament and the personality you want. And I agree with you.
An unbelievable credit to him, because it doesn't always really matter to people, like the whole Ohio State-Michigan thing once you get to the NFL. He was beloved here.
Yeah.
He won Detroiters over close to unanimously. I mean, I don't know anybody.
He's a football player, and he was tough-nosed. He was, if you designed a football player, it would come out looking like Chris Spielman and play like Chris Spielman.
248-539-9797. He, of course, ended up here. But 248-539-9797, the guy you always wanted or still want to this day that you think just feels like a Detroit athlete. This in honor of Jarome Iginla, who is announcing his retirement on Monday, who always felt like he would be a Detroit guy.